Hello guys, si Keshan Veloso ulit ito at welcome sa episode 23 ng larutan ng Shadowrun Hong Kong Extended Edition. So, tuloy natin yung game natin. Last episode guys, after natin matapos yung mission do sa exit stage left, kinakausap natin yung mga yung mga kasamahan natin. Nakausap na natin si Isabel tsaka si Raptor. So, si Gaichu naman. Kasi siya yung isa sa mga kasama natin dun eh. Okay. Hey, the clink of glasses and sound of Neville Ma's party fades into the distance as she leaves the repulse bay. As the MTR carries you toward Heyoy, the mountains of Hong Kong Island roll by as looming masses obscured by rain and storm clouds. Penelope Wong has been fired from Promises in Moonlight, and Ma will be at a serious disadvantage without her. The whims of the tried viewers shift as readily as the tide, and without the starlet's presence, Promises in Moonlight will undoubtedly lose ratings. What's more, you've managed to turn a powerful foe into a potential ally. Only time will tell how Ku Feng will repay you, however. Ito na natin matapos tong loading screen. Pagkatapos natin kausapin si Gaichu, kakausapin pa natin si Maximum Law tsaka si Kindly Cheng. So game. Gaichu. The cabin is in a far better state than it was previously. The heat has been adjusted down and the ventilation restored. The boxes of junk and parts have been stacked and neatly arranged, and Gaichu's small amount of personal gear is tucked away in a corner. There is a small mat in the center of the cabin that looks like it doubles as both a rug and a sleeping pad. Gaichu is sealed in the lotus position, eyes closed. His fingertips rest on a braille reader that is plunged into his PDA. The device fills the room with a soft clicking from the pin combinations. As you approach, he lifts his hands from the reader's surface. Hello again, Tank. Is there something I can assist you with? Okay, teka. Options natin. Looks like you've carved out a nice little spot here. I was hoping we could talk some more. Got a minute? Checking your email. Ito naman. If you say so, I doubt it would be suitable for others, but I do not require much by way of space and have few possessions. So long as I have a quiet area in which I can sit and relax, I am happy. Now, what is it that you wish to discuss? Any thoughts about the last run? What were you reading? I want to know more about what it's like to be a ghoul. We were talking about your father being bailing you out of jail. Amen mo na yan. Ato mo na. Ano masasabi doon sa huling run natin? Gaichu shakes his head, running a hand over his scalp. Vampires, tried producers, fancy parties. This is not the sort of affair I assumed I would be participating in as a Shadowrunner. Hindi mo type? It seems strange this rivalry between Shenyang and Ma, most professional rivals, don't hire augmented killers or freelance mages to solve their problems. Yet Shenyang was insistent that only outside help could solve his problems. Why not simply kill Ma? Assassin kasi ito kaya ganyan ang niya eh. Social mores in this city elude me, I confess. Gaichu chuckles quietly, baring his teeth as he leans back. Ku Feng, what an incredible waste of space. I should hope that she takes my lessons and philosophy to heart. The life of a vampire is more perilous than my own. as her appetite is greater. Who knows? Perhaps we will not have seen the last of her. Sana, hopefully. Is there anything else I can do for you? What were you reading? I want to know about what it's like to be a guru. Muna, sige. Gachi cocks his head at you, his milky eyes narrowing mirthfully. Preparing for the eventuality of killing me and collecting the bounty, make sure you leave my face intact. Huh? You leave my face intact. I would prefer to be a well-preserved trophy. Hindi naman. Don't worry, I'll have it stuffed and mounted on my wall. Who'd want such an ugly trophy anyway? Maybe I can sell your body to an herb shop. One of the stodgy traditional ones. Sige, ito na lang. Gaichi bare his teeth in a rictus grin. You can hear a faint chuckle rumble in the back of his throat. Now that would be an illustrious end to my career. A severed head decorating a leaking wreck of a boat. Home to extremely private individuals who will never show me off. Couldn't you sell it to a museum or something of that sort? Eh di para mas gusto pala niya yung option na isa. Gaichu growls serious, leaning back. If you wish to know about what it is like to be me, ask away. I see no reason to conceal the details of my conditions. So you eat people. What's that like? Most goo smells like rotting meat. Why don't you? Siyempre, baka naliligo siya. Are you immortal? What's the deal with your teeth? Most goo smells like rotting meat. Why don't you? Diet and cleanliness. Tama, diet and cleanliness. Nga, naisip ko na rin yun eh. Most ghouls eat rotting flesh and do not bathe. I eat fresh meat and bathe regularly. So eat people, what's that like? Are you immortal? What's the deal with your teeth? What deal are you referring to? Did you file them down into those points? No, they're actually new teeth, created by the infection. I suppose it is a natural advantage to have teeth better suited for carnivorous pursuits. Sige, tanong natin to kahit medyo masagwa. So eat people, what's that like? Gaichu blinks a few times and cocks his head as if to stare at the ceiling. What is it like to eat anything else? Or for a diabetic to take insulin? It is like that, a fact of life. I have found that most people are revolting by the concept of eating the flesh of humans rather than the act itself. Taken in isolation of social concerns, humans are no more or less edible than most mammals. The flesh can be of poor or high quality, depending on all the factors you would expect: diet, lifestyle, etc. I prefer to prepare my meals as I would sashimi, light garnish and flavoring, but with an emphasis on the taste of the base meat. Do I enjoy it? No, not especially. Some Japanese are fond of pork and chicken sashimi, but I have never been one of them. Kaichi shrugs helplessly. But it is a fact I must accept, and if it is how things will be, I will make the best of it. Oo nga naman. Do you feel bad about having to eat people? No, but I was never a vegetarian, so why should I? Wag lang yung mga friends and family siguro. Gaichi seems puzzled by the question, as if he's missing nuances of meaning. It does not matter where the meat comes from. Someone who died in a car accident is as viable as someone I kill. I admit I have eaten people that I have killed, but that was of necessity. I was going to kill them anyway. Why let their bodies go to waste? Are you immortal? Considering this, Gaichi leans over onto one elbow, I have no idea. I do not believe there have been any organized studies of ghoul longevity. Most strains of the human metahuman vampiric virus impart a semblance of extended life, but I do not believe that the Krieger strain is one. Somehow, I think it is more likely that I will die in combat than of old age, no matter how long I live. It might be interesting to ask a doctor, why you don't look tremendously healthy. Pag nagtanong sa doktor, wala rin eh. Ito na lang. Dali lang guys Dali lang. Okay guys, ito na ulit continue natin. Are you referring to these? Gaichi gestures to some of the discolorations and nodules around his neck and scalp. They look gruesome, but they seem to be as much a part of ghoul physiology as horns and dental deposits are for trolls. Let's talk about something else. And then guys. Okay, tingnan natin. What are you reading? Total open siya makipag-usap eh. Hindi nun siya na bad trip eh. Gachi draws himself up, folding his palms in his lap. With one toe, he pushes the braille reader away. It is called Hagakure, Hidden Leaves, written by Yamamoto Tsunetomo as a treatise on what it means to be a samurai and how one should best serve one's lord. Required reading for the Red Samurai, unsurprisingly. Wala tayong academic eh. Wasn't wasn't the for wasn't he forbidden from killing himself when his lord died? Looking for hidden meaning? Reliving old memories. No, not so much old memories as old lessons. Gaichi smiles sharply, running a claw across the line of his jaw. I have many scars to remember my mistakes by, and each one seems to evoke a passage from the book. The author has a central thesis. When there is a question of life or death, always choose death. Throw oneself into the fray with no resignations, and act on instinct alone. My current state of affairs speaks the truth of this more robustly than any lesson in a dojo. What's the rest of the book about? That sounds a little crazy, honestly. That doesn't sound too different from life in the Redmond Barrens. Wag naman to. Ito na lang. Gaichu ticks off the points by unfurling successive fingers. It is partly a manual for proper behavior toward one's lord, partly a rumination on the mindset required to be victorious in combat, and partly a collection of stories. Tsunemoto believed that to truly embody the virtues of a samurai, uh, adherents should be mindful of their path at all times, never stop training, always question how one's actions reflect on their lord. Above all, be prepared to die. Uh, Above all, be prepared to do your duty instinctively at any time, no matter what the cost. Etiquette academic. If I recall correctly, the author was a bureaucrat who never fought anyone. Wag. Kung nasa akin din yung etiquette, wag. Magagalit yan. Sounds like a dangerous path to walk. Insect seems better suited to a ghoul than a man, honestly. Ito na lang. I am certain it is. But what choice do I have? Without a cure for my condition, all that I am able to do is embrace the reality of what I have become. It does really seem like much of a, it does not seem like much of a choice at all to me. What does he say about masterless samurai like you? What would he say about your refusal to kill yourself? Uh, ito na lang. 7 times down, 8 times up. Kaiju smiles thinly, wrapping a claw on the hilt of his sword. More specifically, if a samurai has not been a ronin at least 7 times, then he has not truly lived as a samurai. Those were different times, however. It was common for samurai to fall out of favor with their lord, and be turned loose to wander. For company men like myself, the choice is serve or die. Is there anything else you would like to discuss? Tuloy-tuloy natin. We were talking about your father bailing you out of jail. Yes, I do recall you asking about that. Gaichu's, Gaichu's, retic- Gaichu's reticence is palpable in the long silence that follows. He does not continue. Is something the matter? You said that if I came back later, you'd tell me what happened. If you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to. Ito na lang. Kasi nanahimik siya eh. Gaichu sighs heavily nodding. I have given you my word, and I intend to keep it. Do not be concerned. I simply have not spoken of my family in a long time. Are you close? Bad memories? Sounds like you may not have gotten along. Ito na lang. Ang pangit yung dalawang options eh. Ito na lang. Not any longer. I have not seen my father for many years now, nor my mother or sister. I wish I could say that I miss them, but I feel that I hardly know them after so many years apart. Yasujiro gave me an ultimatum after my run-in with Shiawaze security. He told me that he had got a backroom deal with a rival in Shiawaze to keep me out of prison. The changes the charges would be suspended if I finished high school and studied at Kyoto University with the intent of joining Renraku. If I did not, Shiawase would take me into custody and I would spend time in prison. Okay ah. What did that cost him? I'm surprised he cut a deal at all. Typical corporate politics at work. The rich protecting each other. Uh, Ito na lang. On some level, I am as well. Those sorts of deals are made all the time between middle managers com- who compete across corporations, but they are always frowned upon. Usually, they are also illegal. I think I took him for granted before that day. I had always taken my family for granted. Raised in a Ranraku family, going to Ranraku schools, I always had a sense of place, of belonging where I was. The thought of all of that vanishing, I simply could not imagine it. Suddenly, the reality of my actions became clear. Gachi runs his fingers over his bald scalp, smiling distantly. From then on, I tried to be the son he wanted, and he seemed glad of it. We grew much closer over the next few years. He took time off to visit me when I was living in Kyoto. Why would that be unusual? He was a very busy man. In those days, a lot of responsibility and very little time for himself. I was impressed that he could carve off as much time as he did just to go camping with his son. Camping doesn't seem like a very Japanese pastime. A lot of nice wilderness in that a lot of nice wilderness in that part of Japan, I bet. I hate camping, all those bugs and dirt. Ito na lang. Very much so. The land around Kyoto is protected from development due to historical and cultural significance. Most of the mountains are considered sacred. So so the Diet declared them a national preserve. We made several trips to the area between Kyoto and Nara. Around the village of Ide, we camped in the mountains above it. We would hunt wild deer and boar there, using my family's antique arquebus. That's a strange choice of weapon. Would something more modern be better? Wag na lang. Wag na lang. It is a choice of expediency. It is nearly impossible for a private citizen to own a firearm in Japan, which is why you may so often read of yakuza attacks involving swords and cleavers. As that as the as the tane ano? As the Tanekashima that my family owns is from the 18th century, it is exempted from ordinary regulations. Kaichi chuckled softly to himself. Perhaps ironically, hunting with my father is how I learned to prepare raw meat. Strange to think that such activity served as training for my current state of affairs. So what's the process? How do you prepare it? I really don't want to hear about that. Okay, sige. Soak the meat in brined water and simmer it at a low heat for several hours. Let it cool and repeat the process. Over several days it cannot get too hot or I am unable to eat it. This process brings out the collagen in the meat. When it is done, I spice it with ginger and ano yun? Sancho pepper. Again, not too much. Mundane food is anathema to me. Sighing happily, Gaichu stares off into the distance. When he looks back, he smiles broadly at you. Those are good days. I am sorry I cannot go back to those times. When one joins the Red Samurai, one must give up all attachments of one's previous life. The company, the code, and the unit become the entirety of your world. Even your family ties have to be cut. That's an incredible amount of focus. It is. That is why the selection process is so rigorous, and so many fail. There is no shame in failing. Simply being allowed to participate in the task is a mark of excellence. Applicants must be human, Japanese, and utterly devoted to Renraku. Your unit becomes your family. Your commander is your father and your mother. Your teammates your siblings. Ano ah? Um, ah, Harry Potter vibes. Parang Gryffindor. Red Samurai are not allowed to reveal our identities and position to anyone outside the Special Operations Group. Even if we wanted friends outside the unit, we could not have them. So how did you end up joining the Renraku military? Ah, sige, tuloy-tuloy na natin to. Willing naman siya magsalita eh. A fair question, given my youthful indiscretions. Gaichi leans back, his blind eyes turning toward the ceiling. Are you familiar with the Kempeitai? Aren't they the Japanese political police? No, what's that? Wala tayo academic eh. The Kempeitai are the political arm of the Japanese military, much like the commissars of the Soviet Union. They are responsible for enforcing political and social orthodoxy. This is not just within the army, mind you. They also enforce certain laws with regard to the general populace. When I was enrolled at Kyoto University, I studied global security and political science. It is the major general it is the major generally used as a gateway to private security postings with both government and corporate militaries. I knew I wanted to fight. I was a young man and my blood was always up. One of the requirements was that students join the youth brigade Kempeitai. The youth brigade is a bit like the ROTC in North America. The young falcons in the CU nations or the district officer program in the Republic of Korea. Members learn to be soldiers without actually joining an army. They perform community service and promote civic pride. Performance and prestige in the Kempeitai used to dictate later job opportunities, a bit like a good internship. Did you enjoy it? You have to be a good fascist to get a good job? Seems like the kind of thing Renraku would look favorably favorably upon. Na lang. When I was in school, the mega corporations looked favorably on youth brigade service. At the time, the interests of the emperor and the corporations were aligned. A grand drive to return Japanese industry to the forefront of the world economy. Good marks from your youth brigade commander were a sure sign that you would be offered a good position with corporate security, and I wanted to be the best. These days, the mega corporations have begun to resist that kind of nationalism in favor of corporate pride. Youth Brigade Services is becoming a black mark rather than a positive. Kaito shifts, resting his elbows on his knees as he leans forward. I do not know if the alternative is any better though. When I was nearing graduation, I was approached by a recruiter with Ranraku Security. He told me I came from a good family and could have a promising career with the company. He offered to fast track my application toward a potential Red Samurai position, 3 years with the Ranraku military as a junior officer, and guaranteed placement in a Red Samurai training billet of my choosing. The pay was good, and the excitement of being an elite was an attractive proposition. I accepted but did not truly understand what I was signing up for. As I told you before, they force you to give up everything except the company and unit. That was made clear to me. I did not truly understand it. So what happened? Did you regret your decision? Sige. On the whole, no. I do not know who I would have been had I not joined. Perhaps there are things that I miss, but regret is perpetual. One is always tempted to ask, what if? But that is a trap. Gaichu wraps two knuckles on his breastplate. This is who I became. The armor was my protection and my identity. Okay pride talaga eh. The training was extremely difficult, both mentally and physically. I knew that I would be isolated from my old life, but I did not anticipate the full extent of that isolation. All Red Samurai recruits report to a facility called the Forge in Chiba. You are assigned a unit, you and 4 other recruits, and for the next 2 years, the Forge will be your home and prison. Pasaway. Shaking his head wistfully, Gaichu snorts. It seems ridiculous. In retrospect, we were all so young. None of us had any idea what we were doing, except trying to become the best soldiers in the world. And yet those strangers became my new family, in the absence of the old. Now, tell me about the members of your unit. Sige, tuloy-tuloy natin. Gachi wrinkles his nose as if smelling something foul. That chapter of my life is over and done with, and they are no longer part of my world. Why would you care about any of that? If they're still hunting you, I need to know about them. If I understand how you were trained, I can make better use of your skills. You said they became your surrogate family. That's important. Um, ano lang, ito na lang, sige. I can see you will not be dissuaded. He shrugs in acceptance. Very well. I suppose it's a small thing to tell you. Gaichi looks down at his hands, picking something out from beneath one claw. He continues to look at his hands while he speaks. When I was younger, I would have more readily cut off my fingers than tell you what you ask. You must understand that secrecy is absolute among the Red Samurai. Okay. Dapat pala hindi natin siya kinalit. Your identity becomes secret, erased from any database that might connect you to the Red Samurai. You use only your code name when in the field, and your given name is unknown only to your is and your given name is known only to your commanders and your unit. Even other Red Samurai units have no idea who you really are. Okay, parang Men in Black. Finally, looking up from his hands, Gaichi leans back against the boxes. Contact with the outside world is cut off completely. Even once training is over, your communications are restricted. Maintaining relationships outside of those you work with is frowned upon. That sounds horribly isolating. Why do they do that? That's a lot of stress. What if a recruit can't take it? Tama. Very few recruits get to this point. If they cannot handle it, we all we all underwent stringent physiological tests prior to this point. If a recruit cannot handle it, he and the rest of his unit are failed out of the program. The rationale is simple. If one member cannot take the training and his unit cannot carry him through, they have all failed. Ano yung kasabihan? Yung isa, pwedeng analogy nun, ano? One bad apple in the bunch. Ishida was our commander. He came from a rich family in Saitama, the kind of family where he was given every advantage possible, with the expectation that he would keep the family name prestigious. He was older than the rest of us, as he'd already spent 6 years in the army, a very severe man, rarely given rarely given to humor. At talaga sobrang seryoso. Takagawa was usually the second in command. As our designated marksman, he tended to have a better tactical view of how an operation should be run, simply because he needed to study the terrain more. He loved to get us laughing. Without him, I think I would have gone crazy in the first few months. Our mage's name was Sasaki. She had been in training as a Miko, an apprentice priestess, when her magic began to manifest. She was in the unit for the challenge and for the money. Her family had always been poor, and they had always told her she would never amount to anything. I think she had joined the Red Samurai just to prove to them that she could do anything she wanted. Okay, tama yun. May point siya. My kind of attitude, I admit. Sounds like she may have been overcompensating. Was she hard to work with? Ito na. My kind of attitude, I admit. I admit. Gaichi cocks his head, amused. I am unsurprised to hear it. You and Sasaki share similar attitudes. Neither of you stops to consider if your goals are attainable. You simply know that they are. Our heavy gunner's name was Aomori. He kept the team honest with itself. He never had a disparaging word for anyone, but would not hesitate to call someone out for their behavior. Sasaki loved that about him. Really. She loved all of him. The two were discreet, but discretion only goes so far in such a small team. Still, we respected their privacy where possible. Is that kind of thing allowed? That seems like a recipe for disaster. Ito na lang. Pag tinan natin allowed, alam na nga natin na hindi eh. Under ordinary circumstances, it could have. But Red Samurai unit commanders are given incredible leeway in what to allow or forbid. The belief is that the unit should fail or succeed as a whole. To that end, whatever works is the guiding principle. Aomori and Sasaki would have been miserable if we kept them apart, and it would have hurt the team. Okay. Lastly, there was me. I was the close quarters and breaching expert. The first man in the door when we had to clear a room. I was the perfectionist on the team. Aomori could get us to do anything, but I was the one who made certain we did it well, with style. How do you mean? What? You made them practice harder or something? Ato na lang. If a thing is worth doing, it is worth doing well. If that thing is also your duty, it is worth doing perfectly. Many times we would perform a drill or exercise well enough, but that was not good enough. If I if I had to trust my life to it, that was why we became one of the best teams in the organization's history. Sounds like you miss them. That's a thing to be proud of. Of course it is. Do you think I do not know that? Gaichu sighs heavily. I apologize. It's just that those feelings are still raw sometimes. Even if I were to be cured, I could never go back. They have been disgraced, and I have done unforgivable things. I have been cast out for good. Are you sure? Maybe it's not as final as you think. Gaichu closes his eyes, sighing through his nose. When they ambushed me in Fukuoka, it was fight or die. I killed two of them before I escaped. I will not be returning to the unit, no matter what. Okay. Pinatay niya yung dalawa sa kasama niya, okay ah. He opens his eyes after a moment, shoulders slumping. It is not an easy memory to grapple with. That's fine, Gaichu. Take your time. Thank you, Tank. I am sorry I cannot talk about it now, but I need to process the emotions. They are still raw. I am tired. Come back later and we can talk more. Okay, nice. At least, hindi siya na bad trip sa atin. So, tapos na tayo dito. So, akyat muna tayo tapos kunin natin yung reward natin. Okay, mission computer. Check your inbox for new messages. Meron ba? Dalawa. Okay. Urgent task. From Kindly Cheng to Tank. Subject. Urgent task. Little birds have been whispering in my ear about an urgent and high-paying run. Still Arm Lu, a Red Bull, managed to get his hands on information concerning a prototype laser weapon in development by Ares Asia Holdings. For years, the Yellow Lotus and the Red Dragon have been locked in a Cold War. Despite this, we remain evenly matched. Neither one of us can attack the other without being exposed to devastating reprisals. Who wants to change this, and he has a plan. Rather than strike directly, Liu intends to aim external forces at the Red Dragon, specifically Knight Errant. He intends to frame a white paper fan named Golden Fang, making it appear that the Red Dragon have been bribing Ares researchers for classified data. Two leading drones and energy weapons. Energy weapons research have recently transferred from London to Hong Kong and are running the project. Doctors Taylor and Hardingham were respected in Europe, but in Hong Kong they remain unknown quantities. They're untrusted and therefore are considered untrustworthy perfect targets in other words. We will provide data that will make it look as if the researchers were contacted by Golden Fong and made quite a bit of money, but grew tired of the arrangement. Transfer the attached files to a data chip. The files will be bundled with a worm program, which will auto-execute when inserted into the appropriate systems. You need not bring a decker, though one may be helpful. You will need to plant data in the visitor record system. The camera systems in Hardingham and Taylor's lab financial data is to be transferred to Dr. Taylor's personal terminal. That in and of itself will not be enough to ensure Knight Errant involvement. However, planting the data is only the first part of your task. This is where a heavier touch will be required. Check ko lang yung time natin, guys. Okay, may 10 minutes pa at least. You will also need to steal the prototype laser weapon. There is a GPS tracking device attached to it, which Lu will plant deep in Red Dragon territory. The apparent theft of a prototype weapon by a disgruntled Triad member should convince Ares to dispatch overwhelming force against the Red Dragon. dealing them a vicious blow. As a note, Lou does not care what becomes of the laser weapon. If you wish to sell it or keep it, feel free. Okay, nice. A laser weapon. Ibibigay ko yun kay ano malamang. Kay Duncan. I've also attached a map of your extraction route. From the building during the facility's expansion in 2052, Ares Asia was forced to extend their foundations deeper into the island. They drove piles through the former site of the central MTR station, which partially collapsed during the Dalu Bay earthquake of 2044. Practically, this means that you can exit through the basement directly onto the new MTR line through Central. With any luck, you can be gone without anyone knowing how. Okay, in and out. Parang milk run. Tapos biglang na lang magkakasala sa dulo. Unfortunately, this route is heavily alarmed. So you will be forced to go in the front door. If you can con the front desk, you should have no problems. The facility is both an office and a residence, so strange people coming and going at odd hours is not unusual. If you're not up to fast talk, however, be prepared to shoot your way in. Lou does not care if you are loud or quiet, but a word of caution. He came by all this information via the loose lips of one of the research team. Other fixers know of this job. Move fast and you are guaranteed success. But there are definitely other Shadowrunners with an eye on your prize. Wag na muna. Back muna tayo. Mamaya natin gawin. Restaurant job. From Kindly Cheng to Tang. Subject, restaurant job. One of the things I've learned over the years is that even the rich and powerful have annoyances. Thorns in their side, if you will. No one is without troubles. The rich just have different ways of solving them. The client for this run has grown tired of one particular thorn in his side. Shuang Singh, Rooster Law. Law is a red pole for one of the smallest triads here in Hong Kong. The 289s, or the Easy Money Gang, if you prefer. Despite the 289's small stature, those illegal activities have managed to damage the client's profits. Mr. Johnson would like you to help him show Law the error of his ways. Okay. Sunod-sunod na job offers to Teka. Tapusin na lang natin itong binabasa natin as end na natin episode. Law takes an evening every few months to dine at the Shangri-La restaurant in Aberdeen. If you aren't aware, the Shangri-La is an elite establishment serving primarily corporate clientele from Wuxang Incorporated. Because of this, it's not unusual for diners to bring bodyguards. It's not unusual for diners to bring bodyguards or assistants with them. In Law's case, he brings a particularly brutish enforcer known as the Talon, and undoubtedly feels well protected. You are going to prove just how wrong he is in this regard. You are to kidnap Rooster Low. So long as he is alive and in relative good health, all options are on the table. While keeping the run quiet would make things easier for Mr. Johnson. No one will shed too many tears over a few dead triad thugs. The client has arranged an exit via boat. So long as you can get Low from the interior to the restaurant's dock, the client will handle everything else. Despite being a red pole, Low is a tactician, not a fighter. Don't expect him to put up much of a fight. The Talon, on the other hand, is as nasty as they come. Be careful about how you confront him, or things may go very badly. Wag na muna. Go back. Wala na tayong messages. Teka. Malapit na yung time natin guys So, teka. Okay. Open the jobs directory. Artifact liberation, task, restaurant job, geomancy, geomantic sabotage. Okay. Wag na muna natin gawin, guys. Kausapin muna natin yung mga kailangan natin kausapin, pero next episode na. So, ay teka. May nakalimutan ako, teka. Nakalimutan kong kunin yung reward natin, teka. Wala. Okay, wala. Ay, teka. Pwede, nakalimutan ko. Pwede, magbigay tayo na, teka. Shadowrun connection established. Welcome to Shadow. Postpay data for sale. Wala na. Okay. End na muna natin, guys. Next episode, basahin pa natin yung mga ibang entries doon sa Shadowlands BBS. Tapos kakausapin pa natin sila Kindly Cheng. So, save natin. Medyo slow tong episode natin eh. Okay. Isa pa, isang save pa, isang pa. Okay, tapos end na natin. Yan lang natin, guys, teka. Okay, guys, Kesan Balasa signing off. It's episode ulit.